Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another day in this International Diversity Week 2022 under the theme
Recording in progress.
Diversity Empowered, Unified by Mission, a celebration of our unique giftedness. Now, I've seen a whole lot of international diversity weekends in my time at NCU, and I know this one is not going to be any different or any short of spectacular and fun and color and culture. No, this is what we want at NCU. This is who we are as a university. We have a rich network. Now, I think I'm hearing my feedback. I don't know if it's from me. Can we get that started out? No? First off, we have prayer, and then we go right into Culturama. Now, as we get ready for this very wonderful program, let's make way for Alexia Powell, Miss Alexia Powell, and then right after the prayer by Alexia, we'll go into Culturama. That will be done by Ms. Chantel Stroh. First off, we have prayer, and then we go right into Culturama.
Lord, we want to thank you so much for today. Thank you for this week. Thank you for the diversity with which you've made the world. All of us being unique. We have unique fingerprints. We have unique features. Everything about us is unique. And that's how you made us. You are the master artist. We thank you for everything you've done. Guide us as we go through this session. May the discussion be rich, may it be fulfilling, may it really provide for each one the kind of understanding of what it means to be who we are, yet a part of this great family of God. Guide us with your presence, and may the discussions flow and be rich. We ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Welcome, everyone. And I hope that your fingers are ready and you're ready to join me in just a quick snippet of a quiz. Yes, you heard right. It's a quiz. I just have 10 quick questions. Very easy, I would assume, for you, especially our students who are online, who are into culture, and not only Jamaican culture, because of course it's International Diversity Week. So we are going international with the culture. So as you hear the question, put the answer in the chat, and we will come back at the right time, at the relevant time, to declare who the winner is. So number one, the longest river on earth is. Number one, if it is that you know what's the longest river on earth, and I'm trusting you not to go Googling it now. I'm trusting that you will be putting the correct answer in the chat, the right answer in the chat as well. So number one, the longest river on earth is. All right, number two, which country is dubbed as the oldest on earth? Which country is dubbed as the oldest on earth? Let's see how well you know the answer, or how well you know your culture right across the world. Number three, remember, you're putting your answers in, and later I'll be checking to see who got all correct or got most correct, etc. And we will declare the winner. And of course, winners come with prizes. Continuing. Number three, the ocean that contains the deepest point on earth is. The ocean that contains the deepest point on earth is. Number four, the country that boasts the widest biodiversity in the world is. Now, I'm lucky I'm on the question side and not on the answer side. The country that boasts the wildest biodiversity in the world is. Number five, the third largest island in the Caribbean? The third largest island in the Caribbean. I'm seeing some persons putting some answers in. I won't tell you if you're right or wrong, but keep on telling me your answers. Keep on telling me your answers. Number 6, the most mountainous country in the Caribbean is. The most mountainous country in the Caribbean is. Number 6, the most, all right, no, that was number 6. So we're now at number 7. Which island is Blackbeard most associated with? Which island is Blackbeard most associated with? Number 7. Number 8, according to the BBC, you can't purchase Coca-Cola in these 2 countries. Now, I must declare I'm not the one who wrote the questions. Now, according to BCC, you can't purchase Coca-Cola in these 2 countries. Number 9, the most visited country in the world is. The most visited country in the world is. And then number 10, this country still doesn't use the metric system. This country still doesn't use the metric system. So I'm going to run over the 10 questions very quickly. 1, the longest river on earth is. 2, which country is dubbed as the oldest on earth? 3, the ocean that contains the deepest point on earth is. Number 4, the country that boasts the widest biodiversity in the world is. The 3rd largest country in the Caribbean is. Number 6, the most mountainous country in the Caribbean is. Number 7, which island is Blackbeard most associated with? Number 8, according to the BCC, you can't purchase Coca-Cola in these 2 countries. Number 9, the most visited country in the world is. And number 10, finally, this country still doesn't use the metric system. So I'll be looking out in the chat for your responses, and I will come back to tell you who is the winner and what your prize will be. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon, everyone.
Mercy. No, I have to say something really quickly. Chantel, if this was your chance to get me to miss coming back in the classroom, then you would have felt miserably. Because now I'm so happy that I'm out of school, I'm done with tests, I'm done with assignments, and I'm just being happy to watch people like Roxanne Watson in the chat and Chris and Gail and Sandra Wilkie attempting to answer your questions. So it was a really good feeling for me to not be on the answering side of it. I'm going to just latch on to Chantel and see I'm not the one who chose the questions either. And it's unfortunate for these guys. But it's good to see people trying. It's good to see people trying. It's all in the the fun of being involved in the program. And that is exactly what we want. We want our network, our international community, and our local community to just be involved in all the things that we have planned for today. Now, moving on in the program, we have, of course, a panel discussion coming up. A very good panel discussion coming up. We have some wonderful people that I can't wait to hear them share their thoughts. Some very brilliant people. I know some of them personally, and I'm excited, and I hope you are too. If I should go into introducing the chairperson, I have a script here. I have a piece of passage here, but let me just put a little bit of personal thoughts in. I was a part of it as an international student at Dietary University. Of course, without any choice, I'm a part of the International Students Association just by being a part of the NCU. A wonderful community, but my president was Cynthia Garbutt, and I'm going to always say that my president was Cynthia Garbutt, one of the persons who would have influenced my leadership growth at Dietary University, as someone who I look at and look up to. So I'm excited to hear her today, and I haven't seen her in a while. So I know I said hi before, but hi again, Cynthia. You know, for the persons who don't know Cynthia, like I do, This is who she is now. Cynthia is a native of Belize. She hails from Belize City, Belize, where she received her associate's degree in Yes. Just continue with the introduction. Cynthia served as president of the International Students Association in the year 2016 to 2017, and then as president of the United Student Movement for the years 2017 to 2018. She toured the entire island of Jamaica while working in the Office of Recruitment. She graduated in 2018 with a bachelor's degree in psychology and a minor in family life education. Cynthia has done internships in guidance counseling at the high school level in Mandeville, Jamaica, and worked with troubled youths at Chance Creative Intervention Program. She currently serves as school counselor at Eden High School in Santa Elena, Cayo. Cynthia also enjoys working with and mentoring young people in her local church and community, which has been a passion of hers for many, many years. Cynthia considers herself an avid traveler and enjoys new cultures, accents, and experiences. Just before Cynthia comes on to lead this panel discussion, we'll make way for Ms. Sinoki Hibbert, who will do for us a poem.
This one is called Pardon Me. It was written by Charles Evans and Sinokia Hibbert. Pardon me, but may I ask you, please, could you tell me where you are from? I've never had a dish garnished this way or heard of eating being called nyam. Oh, you never been way here about one big little place with full of sea and sand? Many I want to call it Jamaica, but you can cut it short and call it jam. Oh, that dress you wear, it's so full of style, it compliments you well. And that folk song you sing stirs a fuzzy within its impact I can hardly tell. You means you like the bandana, the black, green, and gold? You like for hear we sing festival song and tell Nancy story galore. Pardon you, pardon me, I's from a different land. And I know sometimes when I speak, it's hard for you to understand. But for my culture, large and broad, I just can't keep it to myself. With we ackee and we roast breadfruit, all seriously out up on shelf. From New York to London, from Switzerland to Japan, everywhere me turn, Jamaicans representing the Jamaican brand. With music, with food, with culture, is make the foreigners say, Jamaica, no problem, man. But all that we are is more than what you see, hear, or taste. The spirit of our people is born through the daily struggles that we face. 'Tis not all well in paradise, and the truth you must know. Many a backs still wear the bruises of the heavy loads they bear, but try not to show. We are a people gifted, and we try to pave the way, to show what it means to love and accept others and do as the good books say. And let's admit, some things are not as God would have it, But Lord, we're trying to be like you. So we're praying for the Spirit. And we thank you, Lord, for all you do, for the blessing one by one. So we count, so the amount, and the list go on and on and on. And last year, remember money did tight. Never know me would I make it. But all me do was fast and pray. And I remember just calling on you. How you do it, Lord? I know me no know. But me heat and exam do. So no matter what storm or blow, my allegiance is only to you. So pardon me, and I will pardon you. Come make we reason and talk and understand each other true and true. Love we little island. I'm convinced God I go see we through. So let us join hands and hearts together and do what the good book say we're supposed to do.
Okay, all right. We are back. We're back. Good afternoon to everyone. It's been 4 years since I last celebrated International Diversity Week or a weekend, and it is my pleasure to be back here. It's really good to see everybody else that's on the platform. I'll get to that in 2 seconds. Quinnell, thank you. It's good to see you. You're doing an awesome job. So we are here, and I have the esteemed privilege to introduce my esteemed panelists here with us on the platform this afternoon. We are talking about this is how we do it. This is how we do it. And we're talking about preserving our culture. Preserving our culture, basically while situated in another one. And so joining me this afternoon is the one and only Pastor Obed Elijah Bob. The Guyanese on the platform joining us there in the Cayman Islands. Welcome, we're so happy to have you. We have with us Pastor Manasseh Sims. Yes, from the country that has 700 islands in the Bahamas, yes. And then we have with us Jamaican cultural item, Mrs. Vivian Morris Brown. We're excited to have you as well this afternoon. And so we have a discussion that we want to get into. So we have here, and of course, there's yours truly. For those who might not know, I'm Cynthia. I'm Cynthia from Belize. Cynthia from Belize, right? All right. So we have a few questions that we want to get into right now. And on the platform, I'm a alumna of NCU, and we have other alumni, Pastor Sims, Pastor Bob, Mrs. Vivian. I'm not sure if she's an alumna there from NCU.
And it's Vivian, and absolutely, I'm from the West Indies college days, but very definitely connected, yes.
Very good, awesome. That's NCU squared if you're from West Indies College, right? So we have here, so it's International Diversity Week, and we set aside a weekend really in April to highlight, to appreciate the scores of countries from around the globe who have made NCU their home for their undergraduate and graduate studies. And it's a good time where we get to showcase where we're from and what we're about. And of course, we do not leave Jamaica out, because Jamaica is our beloved host and our beloved home for the moment. And we love sharing with them. And of course, we also pick up a little bit along the way as we are there. So I have a question for the foreigners, first of all. So when I remember going to Jamaica, the only thing that I had ever seen about Jamaica was what I saw on YouTube and the internet. And it's a diversity of things that you see on the internet. But I think the most shocking thing that got me that first weekend in Jamaica was that I needed a sweater to live in Mandeville. I'm there thinking that Jamaica is tropical, there's beaches, that's what it is. And I remember getting this stiff cold of Mandeville as soon as 12:01 struck at midday. If you wanted to do anything in the sunshine, it needed to be between 10 and 12. After that, it's winter time. What are some of the most culture shocking things, or what were your preconceptions before landing on the island, and then what was the thing that shocked you the most? I will talk. Go ahead, Obed.
Yeah, well, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. I'm not sure what you're talking about, foreigner or yardie maybe, so I'm put that out there after having spent a lot of time, for those of you who are wondering, I'm from South St. Elizabeth. So, I even have a parish. But one of the striking things that shocked me when I got to Jamaica, I'd been to most of the Lesser Antilles. And so I did not realize that the Greater Antilles was actually greater in size. So having left the airport and we're going an hour 20, and I'm like, wow, we not reaching where we go. I didn't expect the place to be so big on the ground, because coming from Guyana, 83,000 square miles, and now coming to Jamaica for the 400, I'm saying, well, it's a little tiny place, you know. And so that was the first thing, the topographic kind of shock that I experienced. But more culturally, and maybe in the form of linguistic utterances, it was being asked sorry, being told sorry. And sorry for me is an apology everywhere else except Jamaica. You know, so the folks saying I'm sorry, and I have to now be rewiring. I was like, well, what does sorry mean? And then, you know, often now, when even to this day, when anyone says sorry to me and they really mean excuse me, I get a little chuckle on the inside. And so that was really kind of like my first introduction to the cultural shifts that I'd be operating in, having moved to Jamaica.
Very good. I always give that story for myself. You know, I'm standing in the line at CAF and the boy says sorry. And I said, it's okay. And he said sorry again, and I said, I'm not sure what to do. And then my friend with me said, no, he wants to pass. I said, oh, okay. Oh, you mean excuse me? Okay, excellent. I'm not gonna forget that again. Pastor Sims, coming from Bahamas, what did you expect?
Good evening. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh man, coming to Jamaica, I didn't know what to expect. I thought I was going to see a lot of people with a lot of wearing dreadlocks all the time, but I was surprised to see that people had all kinds of hairstyles, representing anything you could imagine. So that was one thing. But also, like Pastor Bob talked about, the scenery in the Bahamas is generally flat. You could look from one side and almost look straight down to the other side. But when I came to Jamaica, it was so mountainous, like so many hills, and once or twice, I believe my stomach got a little bit uneasy because of the long rides and the twists and the turns and all of the trees and the greenery. It was blowing my mind just how beautiful Jamaica was, really, because I had no idea that Jamaica had basically a little bit of everything. Sun, sea, mountains, fruits, vegetables, animals. Another cultural thing. Now to be on it. In the Bahamas, I grew up where I used to catch lizards, like in my hand as a little boy. Like it was a thing that I did because it was, they were always around. But in Jamaica, it was as if there was a lizard in the room, and don't let it be a croaking lizard. I'm telling you, pandemonium. Oh man. So that was and now to this day, I feel something inside of me whenever I see a lizard now. And it wasn't always there, but it's because of Jamaica. So
no, I said I thought I was the only one who noticed. Now you can't have a lizard, it's like a snake there, right? Mrs. Morris Brown, you are a Jamaican. You've always lived there. You grew up in that culture, and then coming to NCU. Here now you are exposed to foreign students, I can imagine. Yeah. And what was your perception of the foreigners when you started to interact with them and the different cultures?
All right. Well, I'll share with you that I went to West Indies College all the way. So that means from kindergarten. And there were a lot of students at West Indies College who were married students, and their children came to the prep school. So I was interacting from before I realized that it was such a huge thing. So some of my best friends, even to this day, are the children of ministers, people you knew as ministers and as other persons in your various conferences. I grew up with them. So I grew up alongside them, recognize that for some of them the accent was a little bit different and maybe the way of doing things. I remember I had a friend called Aline English. Her cousin was Alethea Williams. They were from Trinidad and Tobago. And they carried roti to school for me to be able to taste it. That was my first time, although we have Jamaicans who create roti and so on. My first experience having roti was way before probably my parents had roti, because we were not into the Indian section of Jamaica. But I got it at prep school. And so I was learning as I was going along. And because I am the kind of person, I started in the performing arts from a very early age. I was pulling accents from people and reproducing them on stage from I was in prep school.
Okay.
So you talk about the Bahamian. I talk about the Bahamians, man. There was a time when I fooled somebody that I come from the Bahamas. I told them I come from the Bahamas, and people believe that. Some people said, where do you find the Bahamas? I say someplace between Jamaica and the Bahamian Islands, a place called Jaham.
Okay, so you had a very unique experience in that it was introduced to you from a young, tender age.
Yes.
So foreigners were always the diversity in culture was always in your experience.
My experience, and I was able to, well, I gravitated towards it because I think God gave me that gift, the gift of voice, gift of language, because I realized from a very early age to sound like somebody else or to speak somebody else's language, you had to be able to identify where the music was in the voice. And I was able to get that music from a long time. So that's why if I sit here, I could be from Africa if I want to be. And I could also be from England if I want to be. I could be from Guyana if I want to be, or Trinidad.
Come on now.
I telling you, bye. Don't talk to me, bye. Don't start. Bye.
There we are. So let's see. So we're here in Jamaica now, and it's a new experience. I remember this story. I told this story my last Sabbath at NCU. When I was about to leave, I said, it was a very monumentous occasion to me to come to NCU Church, and I was asked to do the scripture, read something I was asked to do. And I remember I gave a little preamble before, and I said the first weekend I came to Jamaica, because I got there the Friday before school opened the Monday. I had no orientation, so it's a crash course, hard reset. And I walked up to church, and Sabbath school was going on. It was lesson review, and there was this accent. And I remember thinking, that's not a Jamaican accent. And I'm very keen. My ears get very perked up for accents. And mind you, now I am the foreigner. No, I was never the foreigner anywhere like that. And I heard this accent, and I said, this sounds just like Belizean. There's a Belizean here. And then the person said a word that was slightly different. I said, oh, that's not Belizean. And I walked in, and it was Pastor Bob. But in that moment of walking up, being very intimidated in this new country and this new setting, and had no idea what to expect, I felt a little bit of familiarity. There was this moment where I said, okay, there's somebody here like me, I'm gonna be fine. In my mind, mind you, I was a grown-up when I came to school, nobody knew. But what was that point? Where did you find your kindred, or where did you find your home place? I'll ask Pastor Sims, when you came to NCU. So for me, I found it with the foreigners. I also had Jamaican friends who latched on very early, but I remember, and there was one other Belizean, or two other Belizeans, but really like one and a half, there with me, because one was never around. And I found it in the foreigners. Where did you find your place, or your feeling of being at home?
Man, so I'm the kind of person, like, I dive head first into new experiences. I love new experiences, meeting new people. So I dive straight into meeting my new Jamaican family, I call them. I integrated myself on the dorm. I would go to all of the meetings, all of the events. I would try all of their foods. I would imitate the Jamaican accent. I would go to different clubs. One of the ways I was able to do that effectively was I love to sing. So I joined all the choirs. I was on basically all the choirs. I was in several singing groups. So I would travel throughout Jamaica basically every week. So I was in a different parish trying new foods, meeting new people, new experiences. And so I was able to find myself right at home, fully within my Jamaican brothers and sisters, along with also integrating with the international or the other students from different places at the same time. So I was able to, as it were, juggle both.
Yeah, well, that's so you just say, oh well, I'm here. When in Rome, when in Rome.
Yep.
All right. Very good. Very good.
I'll tell you one experience really quickly. When I first came to Jamaica, and they had this thing, we went to a restaurant with some Jamaican friends, and I'm like, okay, I want to try everything. There was this item on the menu called mackerel rundown. I'm like, okay, rundown. It sounds like it's runny. Sounds like it's something liquidy. I could just drink it like soup. I started to eat this thing and suck it down like a bowl of soup. And the biggest bone I ever felt in the world got stuck in my throat. And I had to cry. Please, give me some dumpling. And they had to give me some dumplings to try and push the bone down, because I didn't know I thought mackerel was like tuna. So I didn't know mackerel had strong bones, and I almost died my first week in Jamaica. But, I loved it. I loved it.
So, Pastor Bob, is there any point when you said, okay, I found my corner here?
Yeah, well, for me, it was a little different, because I came to Jamaica as a graduate student, doing research and writing out of the office of the president. So the most Jamaican person to me at the time was Mrs. Baker. And, in an office setting, we were speaking English all the time. So I didn't get much exposure to the actual Jamaican life. It was Mrs. Baker and David McLean. David was the president's chauffeur. So I was just hid away. So it was in ISA that I found, because I joined ISA right away as a grad student. They didn't have any grad student associations or anything like that. So ISA was that little niche. And then it kind of transitioned when I became the assistant dean of men. Then the dorm became a niche, and I would ask the students, because they wanted to hear me speak and I wanted to hear them speak. So a lot of times there was a little standoff there with the conversation, and then they tried to speak to me in English. And I'd have to ask them. I said, okay, guys, look, just talk to me in Patois so I can get an orientation in the into Patois. And so it happened in various places, but I think one of the places where, well, I'd say the smartiness of the Jamaican culture really came alive for me was when I would voluntarily take a bus from downtown Mandeville to take me to Kingston. I would take that ride, just to go to Carnation Mart. I would take that ride just for the fun of it. And that's when, for me, my introduction to real Jamaican life happened, to the extent where when my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, came to Jamaica, I told her, I said, you have to experience a coaster bus ride from Mandeville to Kingston. And it was just like, we were laughing, and you don't want to offend the folk. So you're laughing, but you really can't laugh.
Right.
And for me, that was it. But in terms of comfort, NCU campus provided little niches everywhere, within the church, within the dorm, subsequently in the classroom, with ISA, with USM, with all the clubs and stuff that were happening. To me, campus was just everything that I needed to get really assimilated into the culture, to the extent where I learned, even though I can't speak it, I learned how to detect the accent within the accent. So like if you're from St. Elizabeth and there are two St. Elizabeth accents. There was one down for the for South St. Elizabeth, like Trial, Nemhart, Tumble, Savannah, and then there's one for Santa Cruz. So, that kind of peculiarity I began to listen for, and it was really a fascinating.
Awesome. All right, so Ms. Vivian, is there anything, in your interaction with the foreigners, were there any trade-offs in culture where I'm gonna drop this, I like what you do, instead I'm gonna take that up? Or was there any time when you felt like you had to to trade off something in your culture? I prefer saying it this way. I prefer eating it this way. Or was there just a coexistence of among the cultures?
There was a wonderful coexistence. What you should know, what you should know is that I brought something I think unique and different to the table, even within the Jamaican situation, because in my home, in our home, my mother spoke standard English all the time, and we all had to speak standard English. I was the first child in my family to break away, and until this day, I'm able to just code switch at any point. And yes, I was the only child at the West Indies College Prep School who would, on a given day, I would just break out into some kind of a traditional folk singing and set up singing and so on, because of stuff that I saw in my community. My sisters would be so embarrassed. Lord have mercy. Mommy, can you let her behave herself when she's at school, because she's just embarrassing us. Yes, ma'am. And I would write the poetry and write the songs that I wanted to share with my school community. And so by the time I got to high school and college, my classmates, the Bahamians, the ones from the Cayman Islands, from Ghana, from wherever, they wanted what I had, because I was giving it. I was giving it very without holding back, and I was also absorbing from them. So there was never any need for me to say, I'm not going to do this. I will do it too, but when it comes to an entertainment presentation or so on, I do what I want to do. I can take off the English people or the African people or the Bahamian people, and I spread it out and I give the whole on one time. Within one presentation, one performance. You know what I'm saying? So it was a nice kind of diversity happening. Even we didn't talk about diversity in that time, but that's what we were having. We were having it, we were experiencing it, and we were sharing it. And on the stage, when we go up on the stage, when I'm on the stage, me just do my thing. I do my thing.
Like a true Jamaican.
Like a true cosmopolitan.
There we go. All right, I like that. All right, so as we're talking about culture on the campus then, I remember one time we had at IDW, we had International Diversity Week, and it was a Thursday. Thursday is usually the chapel where we have the exposition. We decorate the chapel and everybody has booths and we have all of the performances and what have you. And I remember one time the Bahamians came in with the Jankuna dance.
I remember that.
Yeah, you know this, right? And the girls, I think it was 2016, the year of 2016, 2017. It was my first year when I was president. And they went all out, and it was a whole carnival in the gym. In my neck of the woods, carnival is the costumes and everything is viewed a notch, several notches below carnival in Trinidad, right? It is seen as reveling, and nothing that would probably be on a university campus, let alone a Christian campus. However, the Bahamians at that time did it very tastefully. Where do we, and I appreciated that because everybody enjoyed it. They had their little headdress, they had the little thing, they had the music with the horns, and it was a sight to behold. I had not seen anything like it because carnival is held on Sabbath in Belize, so I don't get to see the carnival anymore after it was from Sunday. So are there any parts of our culture that, here's a question, that you think being on a Seventh-day Adventist campus that we will need to compromise because it might be at variance then with the ethos? And if so, what might be those things? Or would you say a challenge?
Two things, I think two things readily come to mind. The first is with food. We know that within the ethos and pathos of NCU, and for the most part, SDA campuses, there is the no meat policy, and then of course within the dietary structure that Seventh-day Adventists follow as seen in the Bible, then there's a distinction between clean and unclean foods. And in many of the cultures, unclean foods are part of the national cuisine. And so as a Christian of a Seventh-day Adventist tradition, then naturally it is my Christian culture that then is superimposed upon the national culture. And so for me, there is Mashramani in Guyana. Then while I lived in Trinidad, there was Trinidad Carnival. And I've never been a part of those revelings because my mother accepted Christianity when I was a little child. So that was never part of me. So coming to an Adventist campus, naturally it would dictate that those parts of the culture, the food and the revelings that I cannot assimilate or practice or promote those components of the culture. So I seek the parts where there's the merging of what is cultural for me and what is appropriate and acceptable within the ethos and pathos, the culture of the campus setting. And similarly, here's something, Vivian, you know, all the cloth words that are bad words in Jamaica, right? I mean, we go to the haberdashery and cloth means nothing.
Right.
and so you have to come to terms quickly that, oh, this doesn't really, you know, because the dancehall music is exported far and wide, and you don't necessarily know the context of the words when you just hear the song. And so those are some things that really stands out to me even to this day as it relates to how you balance the culture where you're from with that of being a Christian, and then to the extension with that of being in an institution that has a particular persuasion.
Awesome, I like that. Any other panelists, feel free to chime in.
Okay, I want to say something. Oh, just a note here, Pastor Bab. We don't deal we don't deal with cloth in Jamaica. In Jamaica, the other dictionary is made up of cloth.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Not cloth. But anyways, you know, I've had the opportunity to work with one of our national organizations, the organization that deals with the preservation and the promulgation of Jamaican culture. That's the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission. I worked for many years. As a matter of fact, my last formal posting outside of where I am now was with the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission. And I'll tell you this, I've conducted workshops for the Tourism Product Development Company, the Jamaica Tourist Board, in the evolution of Jamaican culture. And I've had to step away from some aspects of our culture. I recognize those things as aspects of our culture, but because they're not congruent with my personal religious persuasion and background, being a Seventh-day Adventist and so on, there are some things that I don't promote. As a matter of fact, you know, things like, for example, or some of our traditional folk forms, which are those aspects of our culture, dance, music, and so on, that most replicate life way back when and there and then. But stuff like our Jamaican kumina, which is, you know, kumina is a wonderful musical and dance form. However, the fact that kumina is ancestral worship, for me, I do not allow even a muscle of my body to move when I am standing someplace where kumina is being performed. Because I could be calling negative energy to myself or promoting the propagation of negative energy in a space. And that's the reality, because a lot of things happen when kumina is performed.
That's very important. So we have some people on the chat right now. I see you. We have a few more minutes. So we just want to touch on one little other topic, but feel free in the chat. We're monitoring on YouTube. I'm seeing you, we're seeing you. Feel free to continue to drop your comments and your questions if you have for any of our panelists here. So then and I agree with you, there are certain things that were done in other cultures. I found I was exposed to so many new cultures at NCU through the International Students Association, and there were little compromises made. I remember there was there was this little finger food that the Bahamians made, and it had corn in there, and it was a dough fried corn fritters. Not after Pastor Sims did I understand that it was never corn fritters, it was conch fritters, right? But I was served corn fritters with this little aioli, this little mayo ketchup sauce thing, and they always run out whenever we had our little thing, and I just like it so much. I thought this was so good, and the girls at ISA from Bahamas would make the corn fritters, and everybody come from any country, including Jamaica, come buy corn fritters. Not until I left Jamaica that I realized that they were improvising corn for conch, the shellfish at the bottom of the sea, which is very non-ethos, right? So I thought that was awesome. Then there was conch salad. It was conch salad. And in Belize and in Mexico and Central America, South American country, it's very similar to what we call ceviche. There's this chopped up tomatoes and onions and sweet peppers and cilantro. And in Belize, we make ceviche with raw shellfish. So it's raw shrimp, raw conchs, raw this, raw that, and they squeeze lime over it, and the lime cooks it, and they eat it with chips, and delicious. I don't eat ceviche. But I realized that they made conch salad with the pineapple in there, and it was so good, right? You found that there were other things that we could have, the leeway that we could have made, blending our cultures with our ethos. Was there anything else that you identified? Or how did you feel about that as a Bahamian? Did you find it difficult to maintain your culture as it merged or walked the same street as your ethos?
So I think Pastor Bob kind of, echoed my sentiments, clearly, where he talks about, my Christian culture, my spiritual culture supersedes even my national culture. So the substitutions that you would have experienced with the corn for conch and corn fritters and scallop salad, they may have called it, or tropical salad, they may have called it. That's a common occurrence in our Seventh-day Adventist circles, even here in the Bahamas, because we don't deal with the unclean meat. And so we find ways to still practice the culture, but in a way that's, clean. So it wasn't hard to maintain my identity, maintain my culture while I was in Jamaica. However, what I did start to do to some extent, I started to pick up some of, the little nuances of the language. So I would try to integrate patois in my normal dialogue and interactions with others. One main reason was because I was tired of people always asking me and saying, huh? When I would talk, they would say, huh? Say what? and so I said, you know what? Let me deal with this. So let me start. Well, go on. Yeah, man. I started to say these little things, and I found that, in our dialogue was a little bit smoother and lighter and easier. And they would poke fun at my attempts, and then they would imitate me, and I would poke fun at them. And some of my friends would say, "Yeah, boy," and I would just laugh with them and nicely correct them. It's boy, not yeah. So,
but it sounds like Obed like to say, "No, buddy." Obed like to say that.
The extent of my assimilation was. It was so, like, when I heard when Ming came to campus, and I was reunited with a strong Guyanese accent,
right.
I began to have this identity struggle, because I was like, wait, what, am I still Guyanese? But Ming just has a strong Guyanese accent, and it seemed like I've lost mine. And so, that was the extent to which the assimilation into other cultures was so strong. You just identify.
Yeah, I think Miss Vivian mentioned it. Sometimes she pick up accents, and it's not until I got home in Belize and they say you sound Jamaican, and I'm like, absolutely not. because when I'm in Jamaica, they say I sound different. They say I sound Trinidadian, and you know I don't sound Trinidadian, but I think they just hear another Caribbean accent and be like, you don't sound like us. But when I get home, they say you sound Jamaican. I did pick up a few words, I'm not gonna lie, a few pronunciations, because the Jamaicans speak well when they're speaking well. And in Belize, we speak casually. And so I learned how to speak properly when I needed to speak properly. I don't know if we're out of time. I know my host is going to nudge me when it's time to wrap it up. Last question. How did being on the campus of NCU then impact you personally as a foreigner? How has the Christian Jamaican culture impact you personally? So I'll go first as you think, and then you just make it really quick. Coming to an SDA school for me was very refreshing, very refreshing. I had gone to a Jesuit college before coming. I had worked in corporate Belize, where it's not necessarily the best for your Christian growth. And I decided that I wanted to come to an SDA school. So I left Belize and I went to Jamaica. At first it was very shocking, but what I appreciated about Jamaica is that they do church well. And I always say this, and I say this to anybody, they do church well. The church starts at 9, and some people don't go home from church till midnight. They do church all day. There's Bible class, and then there's AY, and then there's Vespers, and then there's social, and that's not a thing that really happened here. And I remember that there were a lot of young people, and they're very participative, and everybody was so energized, and everybody was doing it. And it really helped me. It gave me such a safe space to grow. And at that point, I was on my growth. I was back into my growth phase in Christ. And NCU, the Jamaican culture of, the singing and the music and the preaching, and everybody was so energetic in church. And it really helps me. And whenever I feel like I want to go back to church, I go to Jamaica, but COVID got me locked down right now. Anybody else? And then, of course, Miss Vivian, you're the Jamaican here, and I want your perspective lastly on it. So I'll have the foreigners go first. How has the Jamaican culture impacted your culture then?
Well, for me, it impacted me in a great way. When I came, I was always a Seventh-day Adventist, but then I was an Adventist by the time I came to Jamaica. But by the time I left, I was a good Adventist. I was fully indoctrinated in the ways of church. I know what you're talking about. Church started in the morning, and then you don't leave until perhaps Sunday morning because you're there all day. But I appreciated the churches that I attended, the diligence towards the service. The NCU, despite what people may say, it fosters a spiritual environment where if you're willingly looking for spiritual growth, you can find it. It's readily available in all areas of the campus and the activities. And so I really appreciated how it was able to help me to strengthen my walk with God, as well as I tell people all the time, after going to NCU in Jamaica, I feel like I could live anywhere. Like you experience so many things, so many ups and downs and different personalities and peoples that if you could survive that, I believe you're well equipped for life, to make it in life. And so I owe a lot to NCU and the environment that it fosters.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think coming straight from undergrad in Trinidad onto NCU's campus has really prepared me for my current station in life. I pastor a church for the worldly, wealthy, and well-educated in Grand Cayman. And Cayman is a melting pot of around 130 nationalities. And so getting that exposure in an intimate way. Also, the expressiveness, Jamaicans have this way where they're speaking in fine English and just suddenly break out into patois and then come back onto English. And it always amazes me when I hear it. And it is something that really stands out for me. But I think my overall thing is that the Jamaica, for those who live outside of Jamaica, the Jamaica in the media is a very different Jamaica from the Jamaica on the ground. And so all the fantastic stories and authentic friendships and relationships, those things are often never spoken about. As I've often remarked, Jamaica is the only place I've been to where a clerk in one store would tell you where to find a product that store sells in another store cheaper. Where else do you find that? So all these kinds of experiences, somebody's always looking out for you. Even though I learned, the see and blind, hear and deaf, it's within the cultural fabric. But if the people recognize that, hey, that's a good you that, hey, they'll look out. They'll look out for you. And so I really, part Jamaican, I'm still confused.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. I like that. And I see what you're saying. Mrs. Morris Brown, your thoughts on all of this? Oh, you're muted. You. Go ahead.
If you will permit me, I would like my thoughts, my overall thoughts. I'd like you to allow me to read a little poem I wrote.
Let's hear it.
Students.
Absolutely.
All right, and I like within my experience as a Seventh-day Adventist that the church people and my NCU alumni associations across the world appreciate that I am who I am and I have a gift and I have something to share. And the most important thing is that we love Jamaica, we love Jamaican culture, and I love to share it with people from around the world. So let me share with you one of my poems, all right? Me love me culture. Me love me culture. Me love me sweet, sweet Jamaican culture. Me love me culture, man. Me love me culture. Me love me nice, nice Jamaican culture. Me love me bami and me fry fish. Me love me ackee and me salt fish. Me love me dumpling, me roast yam and banana. Me love me rice and peas, me curry and me dukono. Me love me sorrel and me star apple. Me love me mango and me pineapple. Naseberry sweet down to me belly. And boy, me love me coconut jelly. Jamaica culture, it big and it broad. Big over foreign and it big down a yard. Chat about we talking and the way how we dress. Taking with music, dance and sports, yo, yo. You know we are impressed. We mix up with Chinese, Indian, and European. And we also come from the African. Out of many, the whole of we are one. Over the world, them say Jamaica nice. Them say we country is an airy paradise. With that, me say it loud. Me love we culture and me proud to be Jamaican. Me love me culture. Me love me culture. Me love me sweet, sweet Jamaican culture. Me love me culture. Man, me love me culture. Me love me nice, nice Jamaican culture. So it on.
Yes. Very good. It's been so long that I've been exposed to all this vibes, but we gotta close. Quinelle is here to take us off. It has been a lovely discussion. When we began, I heard the alma mater and it was so nostalgic. But right, we thank you, Miss Vivian Morris Brown, the one and only, or Jamaican cultural icon, to be on with us for this International Diversity Week panel discussion. We thank the Bahamas for sending Pastor Sims, and we thank Guyana and Cayman for sending Pastor Bob. It's been my pleasure. Yours truly here in Belize, and we'll pass that now on to the host of the program. We see the people. Let me just talk to the people in the comments here. I see Mrs. Avery Thompson, hello, and I also see Shanette Smith and Hortense Carrington. She says the motto out of many, one people. And we have a lot of people here online. It was our pleasure to be with you this afternoon. And for our foreigners, the internationals, the week is about you, and we send our love from across the seas. We hope that you enjoy the rest of the week's activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cynthia, and to our panelists. It was such a wonderful conversation for a few reasons. One, of course, everybody's smart and everybody's a lot of smart and exciting things. But for me personally, it was just good to hear from Cynthia and Obed again. I've never met Pastor Sim before, nor Miss Phoebe. I've never met them. So it was just good to hear their thoughts and just to meet new faces and talk to new people, listen to new thoughts. So it was happy. I'm happy to see everybody. I know we must close. I'm looking at my watch. And we must close, but we said that we will at least answer one question from the chat. And if I should just bring back I'm gonna give you guys, let's say 10, 20 seconds the most to just give a quick response. The person says, what is evil in or sinful in one culture may not be so in another culture. Is morality absolute for all people or specific to culture? We can go with Cynthia first, and Obed, and then Sims, and then
All right. What's evil and sinful in one culture? I can't think about what's evil and sinful, but I know in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, we use the term gal. It's the loose way of saying girl. And in most Caribbean country, we have some variation of gal. And in Belize, when we say gal, it's also it's very familiar, a term of endearment, kind of like how the old grandparents of Jamaica would say gal. And I remember I would say it loosely, and my Jamaican friend used to have to go around apologizing for me. And I'm like, oh, yes. After that, I couldn't say, oh, well, this is okay for me. I could say this doesn't mean anything for me. Within the context, it was frowned upon. Within the context, it was bad word. And so I assimilated to that. I gave way to it. And I think that it is important within the culture that you are to walk by the cultural norms and mores, especially if it's gonna cause a problem. If it's frowned upon, then it doesn't matter what my persuasion is. I will give way to that. So I mean, that's my quick response.
Thank you very much, Quinnell, and to the person who asked that question. That's a theming question. I think that whatever is sinful irrespective of the culture. I want to make a distinction, however, between sin and evil, in that sin is the transgression of God's law. Evil, something that is evil might not necessarily be sinful, because evil, theologically speaking, is that which results from sin. And so the result of the sin is evil, but it's not sin in and of itself. And so culture must be subject to what God says. And sin is not relative to culture. And so whether it's sinful or not, has nothing to do with the culture, but it's more about God. Now, whether it's permissible or not is something that then becomes culturally sensitive, because some things are okay in one culture, in another culture, it's just taboo. And so knowing those things helps you to form better relationships, to have more authentic friendships, and also to not be disrespectful or insensitive to a person's particular way of life. That's my 2 cents on the matter at hand.
Yeah, I ditto. I agree. God set the culture for the Christian, for the believer. And so with that standard already being set, then everything else must fall subject to that, if you're a believer. So I believe that dictates how we conduct ourselves, how we interact with others. And, the things that we choose not to partake in must all be in line with what we believe is God's will. So we're going to sometimes mosh each other. In the Bahamas, we say mosh your corn, like step on your feet. In the Bahamas, when I went to Jamaica, they said, somebody is sleeping and they're drawing bungie. They're snoring. But in the Bahamas, Let me say bungie, we mean something else, right? For those who know, you know, right? So some things can be, you know, offensive or a little, you know, little sensitive for some people based on your culture. But ultimately, you know, like I said, as believers, our ultimate culture is heaven's culture. So that guides us.
Miss Vivian?
Okay, I would just quickly say words will mean different things in different locales. As we know, the bulla in Jamaica is not the same as the bulla in Trinidad. Well, it's true. But as far as I'm concerned, though, under God, if you're a Seventh-day Adventist, whether you're in China, Japan, America, Jamaica, England, wherever, a Seventh-day Adventist Christian is a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. Because our behavior and our attitudes and the way we treat people are all going to be based upon the laws established by God. And we all have the same Bible. Not true?
Very, very true. Very true. Let God be your guide. That's what I would add to this whole conversation. Let God be your guide. Let His cultural establishment guide your actions as we are diversely empowered and unified by mission, and we celebrate in a celebration of our unique giftedness. This was a wonderful program. I'm sure you all would have been. I'm seeing the nods to confirm. I'm seeing some person in the chat agreeing with me as well. You know, this was fun. It was fun. It was really fun for a few reasons. This is what NSU does. It allows us to have stimulating conversations, allows us to network with people from different countries and reconnect with people that we haven't seen in a while and reconnect persons or connect with people who we haven't seen ever. So this was a wonderful program. I thank you all for coming. We, of course, we want to thank the International Student Services at Northern Caribbean University, International Students Association at Northern Caribbean University as well, for putting this program together. This has been a wonderful program and wonderful segment in this week's International Diversity Celebration, and we thank you all for coming. At this time, let's make our ears ready for our alma mater.